People love to be motivated. People will move when they're motivated, but when they're manipulated, they can pick up on it. And people will definitely pull away if they feel at any point in time that there is any type of manipulation going on because of what they have. People will pull away whenever they feel that you care more about what they have to give than them as a person. And they will be completely disconnected, and they would even say no. Even though they're willing, they will still say no.
Hello. Welcome to another knowledge bomb episode of Lead to Greatness, where we believe in helping others reach their greatest potential and together change the world. Today on Lead to Greatness, we have Juan Gallegos. And if this is your first time, don't forget to subscribe. Hit that like button, hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of these amazing episodes. And if you're on iTunes, go ahead and rate the podcast and leave a review. That helps get the word out to great leaders and entrepreneurs like yourself. Juan is the host of That's the Truth podcast. Juan has served in the nonprofit for over 20 years. He is an amazing leader, father, husband, and youth leader. Juan is super passionate about developing others. Please help me welcome Juan with successful volunteer engagement. This is Cedric Francis, and you're listening to Lead to Greatness. What's going on, my brother?
Cedric, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure. Good to see you again. And I know between you and I, we have phenomenal conversations all the time that we're feeding each other back and forth. And every time that I'm around you, it's very inspiring. And then just ideas kick off and so many things. So I'm grateful to be on. Thank you for having me on. So a little bit about me, man. Very, very straightforward, very, very simple, man. I love working around people. A lot of my experience has been through nonprofit organization. You know, basically what that looked like would be the church. Serving since I was a young man. Started off in youth ministry for many, many years, over 10 years. Became a youth pastor after that. You know, started leading people from that point of view, serving people. Whenever people think of church, it's not just simply from pulpit ministry. You know, there's a lot of that goes on in the back, behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know about. A lot of phone calls, conversations, visiting, a lot of sit down with people, a lot of time invested into helping people. And that's just a different way of leading people. So all my life, I've been around this. I've been around serving people, serving community, building culture, learning how to lead along the process, because it wasn't easy growing up as a young man, starting off trying to figure myself out, as well as trying to help others in the same process. But that was card that I was dealt, and that was the position I was put in. And by the grace of God, you know, we've been able to manage through that. And we've been now in ministry, you know, well over about 20 years.
So you've been doing this for over 20 years, right? And over 20 years, you know, there's leadership you mentioned, and there's also an aspect of development and structuring and things like that. So I want to kind of look at your perspective and the way you approach, you know, dealing with things you've seen. Maybe you have your own podcast we're going to talk about in a few, but the lessons that you have learned through your experience and through even some of the great interviews that you had in organizing and executing successful events. So let's talk about that. What does it look like to you to organize and to execute a successful event?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I believe that whenever you establish a strong vision and you communicate a very clear vision to the people connect to a cause, and that's what they want to see. But whenever you come out with a clear vision, people know exactly what they're going to be doing. People know exactly what their efforts are going to be used for, what their resources are going to be used for, the time that they're investing, the efforts, all of that they're putting into. And once they connect to that and they see the cause and they see what you're going to be impacting, the purpose that you're going to be executing, people connect to that, and you'll be surprised. People go above and beyond, connecting, giving, and they'll go the extra mile just simply to reach that goal, reach that purpose. And once they see that it's effective, then it's kind of like a wildfire. They just begin to even spark up even more, and it spreads like a wildfire would. And people stay connected, and people want to see an organized event. They can connect with that first step with the vision, but then the step two, if they see something that's disorganized or is not being communicated effectively or is being mismanaged, then you got people that are more reluctant to stay connected.
Yeah.
The first challenge is getting them connected and then staying connected. The buy-in is up front. You present the vision, the cause, the purpose, and they buy into that. And they say, yeah, I want to be a part of that. Man, like if they see that the leadership team disorganized, not really having the full plan laid out of what to do, step one, step two, even backup plans, that really disconnects people, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And with the lack of awareness in certain people, specific people, then you start having some challenges because not everybody started at the same level and not everybody is at the same level. Therefore, there's going to be some people that are going to be mentally healthier than others. And then there's going to be others that are not going to be able to handle certain things, certain challenges. So kind of recruiting and learning, understanding who to work with. I love working with people that are first off willing to work. You come out with an idea and there's going to be the early buy-ins. And then you're going to have the late stragglers later coming on. And then you have a few others in between that probably came in before that. But you're always going to have somebody coming in willing right off the bat when they first hear the idea. They don't have to hear too much about it. They don't have to hear too much of the organizing, how much of the plan that you have in front. No. And then they're going to say, hey, I'm ready. I'm here to go. I'm ready to go. I'm here for you. And I love that. And that's the easy part. That's the easy part. It's easy to work with somebody like that. Yeah. But then you have a few that is like, man, you have something that is tremendous that you can develop that they may not even realize. That's where the leadership challenge begins, where the person doesn't really believe in themselves. And then getting them to believe in themselves is the leadership challenge. Yeah. And I went through that. You and I have had many conversations where you've helped me through that personally. You know, off camera, off mic, just personal conversation. And that's what I love about you, man. I love the relationship that we have. So I've learned from that as well, my personal experience, and then being able to help others through that as well, reciprocated serving. One of the challenges that I remember specifically, we had an event going on where we had a large goal of or doing a fundraiser to put on a pretty large event. So during the middle of fundraiser, some of the people that had signed up, they were a little reluctant last minute and probably didn't come through with the commitment. So that definitely put a lot of pressure on the rest of the team. And I just kind of went around the different areas where people were working, different stations where people were working, just to kind of feel a pulse of what the mood was like, what the culture was like in that moment and people. And that's an element of a leader that I would definitely encourage, having the awareness and the attitude, the morale level of the people involved. So I just kind of went around and just kind of having a conversation. Hey, how are you doing? What can I help you with? I went out of my way, out of the station I was working in to kind of help out and fill in other gaps. So there was others that kind of noticed that there were some gaps that needed to get filled in. So they naturally stepped up. And then usually those are the people that are going to be the early buyers, the ones that didn't have the full plan in front of them, but they said, hey, I'm willing to do whatever it is that we're doing here. Yeah. That's the ones that are going to fill in the gaps. And they stepped in. We did a tremendous job and we managed to fight through and get through the event.
I will tell you like this. For profit, people do things for monetary reasons, but for nonprofit, most of the time relies heavily on volunteering, right? So let me ask you this. How do you recruit, manage, and motivate volunteers?
Yeah, that's excellent view. A great question also. People love to be motivated. People will move when they're motivated, but when they're manipulated, they can pick up on it. And people will definitely pull away. Yeah. If they feel at any point in time that there is any type of manipulation going on and because of what they have. Yeah. So I put it to you like this. People will pull away whenever they feel that you care more about what they have to give than them as a person. And they will be completely disconnected and they would even say no. Even though they're willing, they will still say no. And they won't connect to the vision you're trying to cast or the goal you're trying to reach or the purpose you're trying to execute. So Basically, I stick by that. I stick by that. You know, when you love on people and you have what I've heard others call emotional equity, you can ask for anything. When you have equity and relationship in a person, or relational equity is basically a better term, you can go up to this person and they know that you're real. They know that you're for real. They know that you're serious about where you're trying to get to. And it's not just like, hey, you haven't talked to me in about 3 or 4 weeks, and then all
Yeah.
of a sudden you need something from me, and here you are. People pick up on that.
That is a knowledge bomb. And listen to this. This is the knowledge in the explosion on here. Because I think sometimes, and I see this happens all the time, when you have leaders for some reason don't realize people are smarter than you think. Teenagers. I think a lot of times, especially in the nonprofit, people are wondering, like, oh man, teenagers don't want to do this, or they don't want to do that, or they don't want to be involved. But this whole manipulation factor and this controlling factor, there's leaders thinking that that's going to get people to do what they want them to do. I want you to speak to that individual that they may, they will be honest with themselves. If not, they may know somebody, right? That use leadership as a manipulation tool. What would you say to that individual to tell their cohorts what they should consider when they're thinking about manipulation or controlling?
Yeah, that's excellent. And first of all, it takes a lot of bravery to confront someone that is coming off of the manipulative tactic.
Yeah.
It really takes a lot of courage to stand up. And I would definitely encourage and say, ask more questions. If you're confused about something and you definitely pick up on any of that, before you take a step forward, ask a question, but a genuine question. And I think those questions are very critical, just simply because when you start asking those questions, it starts to expose and it opens up for conversation. And what you want to do is not be confrontational, but have a conversation. And eliminating the confrontation from it is really going to help and build a relationship, because a lot of times what I've known from the folks that tend to use the manipulative tactic, it really comes from a narcissistic point of view, or a narcissistic type of leader. And there's a lot, and that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But when you're on the victim side, and that's what you were asking about, you definitely want to ask a little more questions and expose a little bit more of what the target is in the moment and what is expected, and getting those expectations out in the forefront and getting those gray areas out in the forefront really is going to help out build the relationship. But when you're asking these questions and you're really putting them on the hot seat per se, it's not confrontational, but it's more of keeping that person accountable.
Yeah, that is a knowledge bomb. I love this because this is so true. Instead of asking the questions, we can get in our feelings. We can take things personal,
Yeah.
And we're taking it personal. It definitely it doesn't solve the problem. It puts more defense mechanisms up. So I really love that that approach, man. This is really good, and I think everyone that's listening right now should really maybe consider writing that down. The understanding approach, really start asking questions before we assume, or before we go into our feelings and start creating our own narratives in our mind. Going to that individual and asking that individual, hey, is it really what it really is? Because sometimes there have been cases where the misunderstanding was on my end, because deep down I was feeling something that happened in the past, and I'm bringing up a past situation emotionally and not even realizing it. And that emotion of something that happened 5 years ago with somebody else show up. And when they show up, now I'm treating this person as if the person that hurt me, or the person that treated me unfairly, or the person that lied to me, the person that manipulated me, or whatever the case may be, I'm associating with that past. And instead of dealing with some of this understanding approach, I think this will help. And this would improve a lot of relationships, and this would help a lot of individuals going into this relationship at this point of view.
And I love that you added the understanding factor, because when it comes to leading people and getting people connected to that vision and that part of the organization, people want to be understood naturally. People want to be understood naturally. And whenever they feel that they are understood by their leader, it really helps them connect even more, and it builds a relationship and you'll be surprised some of the things, the greater extents that people are willing to go to just for the simple fact that they're gratified. They felt gratified in their efforts, and they're understood.
Man, that is a knowledge bomb, man. Yeah, this is good. This is good. I want to do this real quick because I want to shift to That's the Truth podcast. It's a really awesome podcast. I listen to it. I'm a listener myself, and I really love the approach. I really love some of the interviews and the different things that I personally have learned. A lot of takeaways that I've received from listening to the podcast. So let's talk about this. What's the story behind the podcast idea, and how did it come to fruition?
Yeah, that's excellent. I love that you brought that up. And by the way, you've been a guest on That's the Truth podcast, and
Yes,
it's
sir.
an honor to be able to be here with you now. So, man, that was an idea that sprung up from being in deep thought one day, and I realized that there was a lot of content that was being shared from a public perspective. It was a lot of content shared week after week, and it was unfortunate that the content could not be beneficial to the others that were not present. So at the time, social media was already up and going, but podcasts at the time were still very, very early on, very green.
Yeah.
Not a lot of podcasts like there was maybe YouTube channels. Not there was more of everything else than there was podcasts. So the idea kind of sprung up in me to put together a platform where some of that content can help others, and that's really where it kind of took off. And there was a lot of struggles in the early process of it, just simply because that was more personal struggles rather than technical struggles. I think that was more of the easier part, even though there was some challenges there as well. But we kind of struggled through that in the beginning. We didn't really follow the calling right from the forefront, and it just kind of stuck in me for at least 2.5, 3 years before we actually took some action and took the first step, just out of fear. What are people going to talk about, man? This guy, he's not an expert. He doesn't have a PhD in X topic. So many questions come into your mind that battle against that. So kind of fast forward now at the end of this year, here at the end of December coming in, we're going to be 2 years with That's the Truth podcast, and we've been privileged to have phenomenal guests on there, phenomenal leaders that come on and share wisdom. And what I like to do is, I'm a very curious person. So from that just natural curiosity and then just willingness to learn, I'm asking questions, and it blesses my life, and it helps me grow and learn, and it helps me stay inspired. And at the same time, the people that get to hear it, I hope that it does the same for them as well. And the entire premise of the podcast is just basically that: learning, wanting to grow, wanting to learn more, learning from other people, applying that word or that word of wisdom into your life, and basically becoming what God has called us to be, so we can be effective in every area of our life. That's the entire backbone.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. I want to do this. As far as the interviews of the things that you have learned, and That's the Truth podcast, I want you to, if you can think about, maybe while I'm thinking about that, something that's really been impactful in your life. You say, you know what? Lead to Greatness community, I want to leave you with this. This is a lesson I learned. I think it'd be very beneficial to you in 2024 as you go out of the gate running. I want you to think about that, and I want you to kind of maybe something that's a hard hitter, something that's pressing. I know there's a lot. I mean, like I said, you have a lot of great people, a lot of great interviews. I mean, so there's a lot of things that you probably can say right now, but if you can do about that one thing, that one advantage that someone from the Lead to Greatness community can get from you now. And the reason why I want you to do that, one, because if they want to know two or three, they need to join the That's the Truth podcast community. So I want you to give us that one.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that I've really been able to pull from this, and I get the sense that a lot of your community is a lot of leaders, people that are involved in leadership. So what I want to say is this: whenever you're leading, you want to lead real. And when you're leading real, people can connect to you. People are willing to follow. So there was an acronym that I felt God put in my heart. some couple years ago, and I love to share it whenever I can. And that's simply, and it's easy to remember because it spells out real. It's the acronym for the word. So first of all, you want to be relevant, effective, approachable, and loving. And whenever you're able to fill in those categories, you're going to fulfill the definition of that word. So whenever you're real with people, and this simply speaks of taking the mask off, taking off the facade. They want to know who you really are, because people will connect to your weaknesses rather than simply just your strengths. They will be inspired by, they'll be strengthened and motivated by your strengths. But whenever you really expose, say, hey, I'm human too. I struggle with things too. I have discouragements as well. People will say, man, this dude is real. This person is real. This woman is real. And they connect to that because they see that you're still on this earth, and you understand that you're still here on this earth, and that you still have everything in front of you that you have to struggle with, just like they do. So that's part of the understanding, just simply being real, being effective. Whenever you're casting vision and whenever you're casting purpose and you're motivating people, the entire motion behind that should be wanting to be effective, not simply doing things or organizing events or organizing anything, just simply to fill something on the schedule. I've been totally against putting something on the schedule just for the sake of putting something on it, simply for the sake of being in motion, but rather being effective. So approachable is one of the things that is the backbone of part of being real, simply because people get to certain levels and then they start disconnecting from people. They start wanting to go through the back door, not wanting to interact with people, not wanting to be in the group of the people where all the action is at. But I want to be right in the middle of them. I want to be connecting with them after every single event, after every service. I want to be right in the middle of the people. How can I help you? How can I better serve you? Where are you at? Where are you currently? How are you feeling today? What can I do more to help you? And simply being approachable. It's not always going to be me going to people, but having the open door of people feeling comfortable enough to come to you.
Yeah.
That's huge. And that's a huge challenge, because a lot of times people will say, well, he's too busy. She's too busy. Oh, or she's speaking with somebody. I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to call, because they're going to be assuming that you're in a meeting somewhere. You're busy with something else. So being approachable also with your body language. If you're a little too into yourself, and your body language communicates that, then people are not going to be willing to approach you. And therefore there's going to be a lack of stewardship there, a lack of, there's going to be a disservice, because your gifts are not going to be able to be used to be able to help them out and to reach them more. So you want to be able to be approachable, and you definitely want to love people. That's what gels everything together, is to love on people. And people will pick up exactly, what your motives are whenever you're doing it. For any other reason, people are going to connect to that. People are going to see that. They're going to see right through that. But whenever you love on people and you love them genuinely, not just simply like a moment just to say it, but rather than to really genuinely communicate the feeling. Yeah. And it's a challenge, and that's a conversation for another day. But whenever you love on people genuinely, so stay real.
Knowledge bomb, man. I love it, man. You definitely given us some information and some things to think about going into 2024, man. So definitely appreciate having you on the Lead to Greatness podcast on today. And I love from, young perspective, your young, fresh mind, you're young, well, very wise, man. I love what you do. I respect. I think I have over a decade over you in age, man, but you definitely, it means so much to me, and I've learned so much from you and, our meetups or whatever, man. So I'm definitely glad to have you on the Lead to Greatness podcast on today, where the Lead to Greatness community and some of our great leaders that listen can listen to a great, amazing, inspiring, pioneer, visionary mind like yours, man. So thank you for being here.
I don't bring up the age card too much, but I just turned 38 this past year, so that does come up a lot. You look a lot younger, but yeah, definitely want to put that out there.
38, huh?
Yeah, 38. Just turned 38.
Oh Man,
Fresh 38.
You look 20 years younger, man. I mean, those looking at YouTube, just look at this young face right here, man. Just face smooth, no. I mean, just
Maybe I should have another.
What kind of soap do you use, man? God,
Oh, gosh.
what kind of lotion you use? No, I'm just kidding. Hey, what's up, man? If someone wants to connect with you and what you're doing, where should they go?
Yeah, so you can go to Linktree. That's linktr.ee, the Linktree, and you can find all of the information there at j.gallegos. That's j.gallegos, and you can find the podcast link. You can find the blog, Instagram, Facebook. Everything is there.
Cool. Thank you. On behalf of the Elite to Greatness community, I want to thank you so very much for taking time out of your busy schedule and adding value to us all.
Thank you for having me.
We want to thank you for joining us today on the Elite to Greatness podcast. So remember, if you help others reach their greatest potential, together we can change the world. Peace.